there are a series of different options for the interior of the transit van. We've got cloth seats that are going to be standard. You've got leather seats that are available optionally. You've got manual adjusting seats or power adjusting seats. There are also swivel seats where if we didn't have this bulkhead, you'd also be able to fully spin the seats around, which is kind of cool. Now this one obviously is the cargo van, which means that we don't have any other seats inside the vehicle outside of the driver passenger first row seats. So if you're looking for a transit van with more seat options, you could look at either the crew van, and then you've also got the passenger van on top of that. So crazy amount of seating options that are available. If you have a transit van, you technically could install seats as well in the back area there. You just need to get it done by an NHTSA approved vendor. So just make sure that you're following all safety protocols and things like that. Don't just slap a seat back there like a couch or something and hope for the best. It's not the way things work to be safe. But along the door, we have our base window controls. We've got our unlock and our lock buttons. And then we've also got a few speakers strategically placed throughout the interior of the vehicle. We'll get to that audio test in a second, but it is surprisingly nice. We've got surprisingly, great visibility from the dash, and seat comfort is actually not too bad. Like, this is just your regular cloth seat, and it's got a decent amount of cushion to it. You could look at aftermarket cat skins if you'd rather have the more like leather feel to it instead, but you would have the option of getting the leather seats right from the factory as well. But spacing wise, so with the seat far down, so with the seat as far, it's locked in place, so it's not dropping down anymore, but I mean, I have like a ridiculous amount of headspace here. Foot space is also pretty solid, and because of the type of van, the seat that we've got, just slide back and forth very easily there. But I mean, like if you're 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", even taller, you'll probably comfortably be able to sit inside of this thing. Series of different selector switches by my left knee. So we've got the flexibility of adjusting our side view mirrors. If you had fog lamps, you'd have a button for that. We've got our parking brake, the auto hold setting, and then we've also got a little cup holder down there. We actually do have a few power points. So we've got a USB-C as well as a 12-volt power point up there. But like I said, great visibility with the dash. The steering wheel itself is pretty straightforward, but if you want to walk through on how to use the steering wheel cluster or the Sync 4 media screen, check down in the description of the video. I've put together comprehensive videos explaining how everything's done. But we've got our lane keeping system, so that's the one that's potentially going to nudge us into our lane or shake the steering wheel. If we start to veer over into a lane without signaling, we do have our base cruise control with optional adaptive cruise control on top of that. Volume rockers, and a series of other things. Pad on the right side is going to be to control our little cluster screen. We can answer or hang up on a phone call, and then one cool thing, if we were hooked up through Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, we'd also be able to use the button with the little speaker icon on it in order to use our Google or Siri assistant, but it also is a great assistant for the media screen as well. We'd be able to control the temperature, we could navigate to places, we can change the radio station. There are a ton of different options that are available. But like I said, the walkthrough on that media screen, down in the description of the video. Now, the 23 Transit still technically does have the last generation Sync 3 system available. I'd recommend paying the like $1,000 roughly at a minimum to get this larger Sync 4 screen. And the big reason why is because of the way that the camera system works. The big benefit of having this large screen is it's just the backup camera shows up so beautifully inside of this thing. Though I did mention the benefits of having the reverse and the forward sensing system, but having this larger screen just makes it infinitely easier to see what's going on around you. So that is one upgrade I definitely recommend you look at. You do have the option for factory nav, but you could also hook up through Android Auto or Apple CarPlay to use Google Maps, Apple Maps, or Waze. It's really, really neat. Moving down, we've got a volume rocker. So we actually have to, let's fire this thing up a little bit. As it comes to life, and I got to do a quick little audio test for you. So, amazing band, amazing song, but the sound inside of this, it is surprisingly good. And like for the van the way it is, like obviously we've got the bulkhead here, so it kind of condenses the sound in a little bit. But even with the bulkhead, without the bulkhead there, it sounds so good all at the same time. Like If you wanted better audio, you could upgrade the system as well. There are different options available, but the stock speaker system in this is surprisingly good, as you heard there. Really good there. We've got a series of different buttons that are available. We've got one, oh, so good. We've got one for drive mode, so we can switch between a series of different drive modes that have these really neat graphics as we jump through. I love the way it looks. We've got our max window defroster, we've got our camera button, and that's going to either be to shoot our rear camera or the optional 360 camera. And again, the 360 camera, really, really useful, especially if you're going to be driving around places where you're going to be in and out of tight spaces, because we've got our side view mounted cameras, rear and our forward facing camera, so that full 360 view is incredible. But we can also switch between our full 360 view. We've also got a front view. We've got a front stitch together view on top of that. So series of different views that are available, but I mean, having that 360 capability is really, really nice. I kind of like it. We've also got a little P button, and that can either help us for navigation to parking, but we also do have park assist that is available inside of this on top of that. So it's a feature that you have to add on at time of ordering from the factory, but it is a really useful one at the same time if you want the van to help you out parking, because you might be a little bit apprehensive moving this thing around yourself. So having the park assist system is nice, but at least looking at the sensing system in the 360 camera, also really good options. Moving down, we've got our four-way blinkers. We do still have an old school shifter, which is great. We've got park reverse neutral drive, and we can also drop it into a manual mode. So we've got buttons just on the inside of the shifter where our knee is, and we can easily adjust gears out there. But shooting across, we've got a boatload of storage there. We also do have a little storage compartment down there. On top of that, we would have the option for auxiliary switches. So if you needed to wire some things up, you would have that flexibility of adding that feature in. Aftermarket is doable, but I definitely recommend just getting it done right at the time of ordering from the factory. Did mention we could look at dual alternators, dual batteries, and a series of other things as well if you need to get more electrical components inside of this thing. One other really neat thing is that on our passenger seat, we also do have the option for a 400 watt inverter there too. So a regular wall outlet, which it's kind of unique and pretty cool at the same time. But shooting up overhead, we've got our controls for our cabin lights, our full dome lights there as well. And then this one also has the optional top storage tray. And that one is really useful, throw maps, whatever the case may be up there. I like it. Like, I like having this option available just because it uses the space up. Obviously, if you're doing upfitting and things like that yourself, here nor there, but I just think having this is really, really great. Overall, like base styling here, it's really straightforward. Like we've got our blue oval right in the middle of the steering wheel. But one thing, like having this bulkhead is kind of neat. So we've got a few options from the factory, and I mean the build quality on it, it's actually surprisingly nice. A few different styles. This one, obviously, just because of the way that it is, there's no door. So if you need to get into the back of the vehicle, you need to get out and walk around in order to make it happen. You could have a door for a pass-through, but the default is just having no bulkhead inside of any of the Transit vans. So it is kind of nice to know we've got that flexibility right from the factory. I kind of like it, but there are a series of different options for aftermarket bulkheads and accessories and things like that. You could get cages, whatever the case may be. So really, sky's the limit there. There are a series of different outfitters that you could look at in order to get those bulkheads installed.